Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Lynn Nesbitt, and I'm chairing the panel today. Joining me on the panel are Michelle Duncan via Zoom and Marcel Larondo in the committee room. Our assessor today is Justin Mikulik and Matthew Barocas, and our administrative personnel is Jaswinder Kumar. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matter for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 4 and 6 through 9 on our docket today. Mr. Kumar, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you. Mr. Mikulik, please state your full name.
Justin Mikulik.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Barocas, please state your full name.
Matthew Stephen Barocas.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Dupont, please state your full name.
Henry Dupont.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now begin with item 1 on our agenda, 445 Stafford Street. Mr. Mikulik, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so roll number 22-2386. File number 22-2386. Roll number 12013774000. 2023 roll year assessed value 16,743,000. Classification is 40S. We have a recommendation on this property, so to reduce the value to 15,368,000.
Okay. Can you give us just a brief explanation of, well, I see that. Okay, never mind. Mr. Dupont, do you have a response to the recommendation that the assessors put forward?
I'm looking at my income approach. 368. And you don't, you show a cap rate 5.9 and you change the NOI.
Correct, yeah, that using an NOI of 906,721.
And you deducting the parking lot.
That isn't applied to this number yet.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure the process on how that gets initiated. Because I know that was another property, I guess, that was given to me for this docket.
So it's 15,368. I'll accept that, except for the deduction of parking. Then I would make a presentation on the parking only.
Well, this relates to this specific roll number. So do you accept this value presented for this roll number?
No, I accept part of it. I accept the income approach, and I believe that the parking lot at Weatherden should be deducted off of it.
Okay.
Because it's used by this property. So, like, we don't need to go through all the income approaches. If we agree to the base income approach, then the only thing remaining is to whether there should be a deduction for parking lot.
Mr. Assessor, do you have any comment for that?
I believe in the past that is what was done with this property. So, I mean, in terms of a comment, like, I guess that's acceptable.
Okay, so so this would then be reduce your value further, is that correct?
Is the parking lot valuation going to be objected to when that file comes up?
It's here today.
Yes.
Yeah, we won't object to the value.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was appealed only as a protective measure to make sure it was deducted off this. Yeah, no, it won't be appealed. We'll ask the board to confirm.
It's been done in the past.
Yeah, just apply that 264. So the new value would be 15,104,000.
Can you repeat that, please?
15,104,000.
104.
That's 15,368 less the 264, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, got that. And Mr. Dupont, you're all right with that?
I accept that value, yes.
Okay. Mr. Delorondo, do you have any questions?
None.
Okay. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions? None?
No questions.
Okay. All right. Then that concludes item number 1 on our agenda.
Number 2 will be confirmed.
So I guess now that made quick work of item number 2, but we will introduce it and read it in, plus the value, please. Mr. Mikulik, when you're ready on item number 2.
Okay, like, is this 15 Berwick Court?
No, it's Weatherden Avenue.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the
This is the parking lot.
okay. So that's file number 22-2390, and then roll number 12013774300.
Okay. And the value, please.
264,000.
Thank you very much.
I can speed up the proceedings. I will withdraw the appeal. I think it'll be better.
Okay, can we withdraw at this point, or do we have to confirm it?
No, I think it's better for the assessor if I don't have it confirmed. Otherwise, I could still proceed to municipal board. So now, if I
Okay.
withdraw
Okay.
SDN,
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I can
Alright.
send you the withdrawal form, then you can just sign it and send it back to me.
yeah, okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Going good so far.
Okay, let me just get organized. We're going too fast for my brain.
Number 3.
Yeah.
This is what it was. I don't know why it started off with stuff.
Okay, we'll now move to item number 3, 15 Berwick Court. So Mr. Mikulik, when you're ready, you can proceed with your presentation, please.
Okay. Would you like us to start with the 2022 roll year? The file
Yes.
number 223829?
Yeah, we'll go in order of the agenda, so yes.
All right, so file number 223829, roll number 12097803170. So this roll year is 2022. The assessed value is 36,679,000. So we have a 6-story apartment with 2 buildings built in 2021. So a new build, 156 suites. We have our parking of 91 indoor and 80 outdoor. Scrolling to page 2, you can see here the location of the subject. So it's located west off of Osborne towards Berwick Court and located right on the rapid transit line by the Osborne Village. Going to page 3, you could see our income value summary. So you could see where we fall in on our average monthly rent per unit, and then our income workup coming up to a net operating income of $1,833,943. The model drive capitalization rate of 5% to come up with our estimated market value. Page 4, where you see our rent comparables. So because this is a newer build in an older area, some of these comparables, they weren't right around the subject just because of the nature of the build. So I went outside the area a bit to get what I felt was similar properties, to get rent comparables that would fall in line with the subject based on the type of property that it is. And page 5, I just showed from their website what the different floor plans were, what they consisted of. I mean, you could see the rents there, although those would be post-reference on the rents for this appeal. But I just wanted to let you know the picture of what type of suite variation they are and the sizes that they consisted of. So going to page 6, our capitalization rates, you could see here where our model is in the multifamily down near the bottom. Second from the bottom, where the city of Winnipeg's model is for 2022, between 4% and 7.30% for capitalization rate. And then narrowing that down a little bit more, the 20th to 80th percentile being 4.9% to 5.3%. Page 7 would just be supporting capitalization rate evidence for our assessment model, with 333 Ward being the main sale that we would be using towards this, being that it's the newest build and this property being a new build as well. Going to page 9, I just posted some things from their website just regarding the amenities at the property. So heated underground parking, secured entry, games room, Starbucks kiosk, bike repair station, rooftop patio, electric vehicle charging stations, fitness center, So you could see the list goes on. So a pretty high-end apartment with many features in a great desirable location right next to rapid transit. So we have, it's in a really good spot, which will lead us back to, we feel pretty comfortable where we are with the cap rate. And you could see just some pictures I had provided on page 10 and 11, just regarding, they had some photos from the website. And then just further with the apartment and amenities, geothermal heating, stainless steel appliances, quartz countertops, luxury vinyl plank flooring. So it really consists of premium finishes in a premium location. So that's all I have for the presentation today.
Thank you, Mr. Nicola. Mr. Dupont, do you have any questions?
Yes, with the amenities, it says for room amenities, says air conditioner. So would you agree this says wall air conditioning instead of central air?
It is geothermal heating, so I don't really, I wouldn't know if it's a wall AC or not.
It'd be surprising on a new building to have wall AC.
Okay, but it does say air conditioner in the room under apartment amenities. And you have the questionnaire and your submission. Do you have the?
No, because this is a brand new build. We weren't provided with anything.
For your cap rate, you have just the one property on Ward. Do you have any other properties for newer properties?
Not for this. Not for this cycle.
So the valuation date is April 1st, 2021. Is that correct?
Not for this one, no.
This one would be April 1st, 2018.
Oh, yeah, okay. And was the property in existence at that time?
Not on April 1st, 2018.
Do you know when it started to lease up?
July maybe of, I don't have that exactly on hand.
Lease up starts June 1st.
June 1st, 2021.
Right. So you would not have the actual rents for the subject to use, and it would be a startup phase. Would you not agree, or lease up phase?
Yeah, we had requested the rent roll, but it wasn't supplied to us. So
Not until
yeah, we weren't able to supply that in this hearing.
Should you make any allowance for the fact that it's a lease up basis, your higher vacancy or higher cap rate, or anything that for that matter?
No, for new properties, City of Winnipeg doesn't do that. In regards to the vacancy, we know how fast the building has leased up now, first of all, even though that wouldn't be known at the time. Typically, buildings don't take very long to lease up, but there is a lease up period. So given the fact that this property is worth roughly $36 million, a knowledgeable vendor isn't going to sell it at a discount based on a short-term lease-up amount. So while the purchaser might propose that, a knowledgeable vendor will see that no, there isn't vacancy issues. This is a good area. This is in South Osborne. It's getting market vacancy, which as per the model is 1.8%. And therefore there's no reason to adjust the cap either.
So wouldn't the purchaser vendor say, we don't know what rent you're going to get. We don't know how well the market's going to take it. We don't know what the vacancy we're going to have. So would you not say that's a high risk period to buy at the time? No,
I don't, because historically there hasn't been a problem. There's been a few properties where the number of units is, 100, 200 higher than this, than the 156 units here. I've done a lot of new properties, put a lot of new properties on the roll. I've looked at a lot of rent rolls. I've seen how long the lease up periods have been. I've seen the board of revision decisions in regards to what you're contending. They never go for it. So I don't agree with that statement at all.
I believe 145 Sage Creek, the board gave me a reduction based on the lease up factors.
Yeah, but that one we don't agree with, and it's going to be pushed to a higher court, and that's an outlier decision.
Okay, so basically, the board of revision do not always agree with you.
We can't hear evidence on previous board decisions. Thank you.
So in your experience, how long does it take to lease up?
Well, it depends on how big the place is and the area. I'd say South Osborne's a pretty good area. I know how quick this one's leased up, but I can't say because that's post-reference information. But they're not having an issue. How long would it take? I can't put an exact number on it. Sometimes if they pre-lease, by the time they hit occupancy there, it's 100%. Sometimes it takes longer. There's situations where it could take, year and a half. There's situations where it could take 6 months. The vendor isn't gonna sell it at a short-term discount, a long-term investment like a $36 million property. That wouldn't be knowledgeable seller type behavior.
The seller is likely not going to sell at that point in time if they had to. If they needed the cash for some reason, they had to sell. It's not a matter of they would not or whether they have to sell. And a buyer, and wouldn't the buyer say, this is a risky period, we don't know what the rent is, what the vacancy will be, et cetera, et cetera. It's not established yet.
Well, I mean, we've got a pretty good example in our cap rate rebuttal of 2390 McPhillips in regards to its rate of lease up. So I think that's a pretty good example in regards to what a similarly sized amenity building, the lease up rate on it. But that's something that's not going to come until the next file on this property. So I think that's a pretty good test.
Now, on the rents, you realize it's your model rents, I presume. It's not based on those 4 comparables.
These rents are actually taken by looking at the actual rents they were receiving. Do you put this on?
No, I didn't put it on, but I did look into it, and so an estimation was made by the rents in place, and then issuing lower rents due to the time period not being at 2021. These are 2018 reference date, and then pulling comparables of similar properties to see here where it would fall in line with other higher end apartments.
Your page 4, your rent comparables.
Yeah.
Your third comparable, total units, am I right? Only 3 units?
Yeah, that's correct.
So 1 per story. So would you agree that that's not very comparable?
No, it wouldn't be comparable to the subject.
And it's double the size in gross floor area. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Now, the rent that you have, is this after any rent discount, or is that just their face rents?
These are just based on the rents that we made our estimation of. They wouldn't have any discounts because we don't have the rent roll.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Laurando, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. And I don't have any questions either. So, Mr. DuPont, you can begin your presentation, please.
My presentation is on both years at the same time. So I would suggest that the assessor now present the 2023. And then we can do ours both years same time.
Mr. Assessors, do you have any objection to that approach? Can't hear you.
No, we can proceed with the 2023.
Okay. Then we'll do that, just given that these are appeals of the same property for 2 different years. Okay. Go ahead then.
Okay, so file number 22-3828. Roll number again 120-978-03170. This is 2023 roll year, assessed value 37,591,000. Again, 15 Berwick Court. The suite count 156, parking 91, indoor 80 outdoor. Same location, next to the rapid transit. Page 3, you could see our income workup, where we now have an average monthly rent per unit of $17,1204. And then you can see the net operating income now coming out to $1.992349 million, and a capitalization rate of 5.3%. To get the total market value of $37,591,000. Rent comparables here were pulled, trying to find again other similar properties. Due to this one being in an older area and a new build, had to go outside of the area. So you could see I tried to pull in similar style properties and where the rent falls in line. So we feel pretty confident with the rents relative to other comparables. And the floor plans provided again, just for reference. I know the rents are post-reference if you're looking at these because they're from current prices right now. Capitalization rate table. So you could see now for this in 2023 where the city of Winnipeg falls for multifamily between the 20th to 80th percentile, being 4.8% to 5.6%. And further on to the next page, our capitalization rate evidence with 2390 McPhillips being the most weighted sale for this type of property, being that it's a newer build and falling in the reference period with the stabilized cap rate of 4.79%. And so just further on again, just posted the same information regarding the property that we discussed previously. So that would be it for my presentation. And is there more questions again regarding this?
Thank you. Mr. DuPont, do you have any different questions related to this reassessment year?
Yes, on page 7 in your cap rates.
Yeah.
The first one, 2390 McPhillips, it shows built 2015 and it sold 2020. So it sold 5 years after it was built.
Correct.
Yeah, so there would not be any problems with the lease up at that point in time. It would have been fully established.
Correct.
Do you have any direct evidence on how you arrive at that cap rate?
Yeah, we do. That's going to come in the form of a rebuttal to the Altus cap rate study in regards to 2390 McPhillips. I've got workups as well for 555 Corden and 677 Maryland.
So if it wouldn't be for the fact that we use that as a cap rate comparable, you would not be showing how you arrived at your cap rate for any of your properties?
Well, we don't have them in our direct brief, but that spreadsheet will come across after you present your cap rate study. So I mean, I personally put this table together. I did the 3-year stabilizations, and the panel is going to see it. And 2390 McPhillips is the newer, larger property that's going to be most applicable, not only to 50 Berwick, but also 30 University. So the panel is going to see the workup, and they're going to run it against your workup and see which stabilization makes the most sense.
In your rent comparables, page 4. No, there again, were the rents established on this property based on the actual rents factored back or using comparables?
We had factored them back and then running rent comparables to make sure that it's not out of line with other similar properties that we would feel are comparable to this one.
Now, the construction class subjects wood or steel stud, and the first one that you have is masonry. Second one, reinforced concrete, masonry, and so is the fourth. So the 3 of them would have superior construction. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you could make that case that the construction would be better being concrete or masonry.
And all these buildings have different suite mixes. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you're comparing overall rent, and you don't have comparables for each individual bedroom type.
No, but I mean, the subject comparable does have 25 3-bedroom units. 3 of the 4 comparables don't have 3-bedroom units. Not for nothing, we also got 2 bachelor units. That's not a big overall proportion, but that's definitely 3 bedrooms, typically, all things considered, being the same. Otherwise, rent for more than 2-bedroom units. So I'd say that's an attribute.
So the subject has 25 3-bedrooms, and the gross floor area is 1353. And the first comparable is 1468 without the 3 bedrooms. So that would mean that the 1 and 2 bedrooms are larger, and the comparable number 1?
No, the gross floor area per unit, that's inclusive of common areas, hallways, lobbies. So in that line can be misleading. It's not a reflection of the actual suite size. I believe later on, further down in Justin's brief, there are actual square footages of the units. But I mean, again, it's inflated for all of the comparables, not just the subject property. So that's not a line we put a lot of weight on. That's something that's just automatically generated in our model created briefs.
So you don't really rely on a gross floor area per suite. So how are we supposed to use those comparables if this is not reliable?
Well, first of all, you can see that they're roughly in the same ballpark. They're newer buildings, so typically newer buildings have similar amounts of common area in terms of hallway width, lobby size. We do have the size of the suites, and we feel that the rental rates are supportive of what 15 Berwick is coming in at 1712. Falls below the range of comparables that are all within $100 of it. So pre-reference date, market rents, support with the models putting out.
Your comparable 1 and 2, number 1 is built 2011, number 2 is built 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The suite mix for number 1 has a lot more 2 bedrooms percentage-wise than number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Comparable number 1 has much higher, 40% higher square footage, yet they have the same rent, 1781 to 1799. Can you tell us why there's a difference in those rents?
Well, 835 Sterling Lion Parkway is also 8 years newer.
So it's strictly dealing with age on that, you think?
Well, I mean, looking at the metrics displayed in this chart, that's the most noticeable difference.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Larondo, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. And I have no questions. So, Mr. Dupont, then we are on to your evidence that will cover the 2022 and 2023, please.
Yeah, so go to the first page, shows what the assessments are, what we're asking. We have the artist drawing of the building. You know, we can jump to my page 24. That's the rent roll that we have for the subject. They have monthly discounts. That's August 8, 2022. It's after reference year, but it does show what the rents are and the discounts. Then the page after that, well, at the end of that, page 3, 4, we have the totals, etc., vacancy. Then we have CBC data. Afterwards, it gives the average rent and average vacancy. And we also have the ad that they have on this property. Further, I was looking for the questionnaire, but the questionnaire does say where the check mark just says wall AC. So we go back to the report. So we have the maps, overhead maps. Page 6, you'll see it's right beside the rapid transit, and right beside the rapid transit is the rail tracks, very large rail tracks there. So you got the plus and a negative there for the location. Then you can go to my spreadsheet. Oh no, cap rate, sorry. For the 22 assessments, we had cap rate settle for the municipal board. So the 2020 cap rates were settled for 1999 plus. Our settlement was 5.25%, and that was negotiated by Matthew and myself, but it was approved by their superiors and my client. So that was a final negotiated settlement on that. For 2023, the assessors got 5.3. We used 5.5. So we explained under tables so it has modern finishes, ensuite washer and dryer, but that's relatively normal for new properties. Stage, it's a lease up stage. First rent roll on November 1st, 2021, with 83% vacancy, end of 2021, and 13% as of August 2022. They do state on the rent rolls that they started to lease up in June. So they start to lease up 5 months prior to it being completed, but they had only 70% rented by the time they were able to get it. So our cap rate is 5.5%, including 0.25% for lease up stage location, Wall AC parking and suite mix. The suite mix, I guess we'll see in the next page. So the page 16. So the spreadsheet, page 16. Now we show what?
Is there a reason we can't flip the chart?
Well, you should be able to rotate it. I rotate mine.
Just give it give us a minute. Yeah, you can.
I can't rotate mine.
Left click
Yeah, I did that.
and then at the bottom, and then there should be a rotate.
Right at the top there, actually. No,
Look at the blank.
oh, we gotta go. That's much better, isn't it? Now we're upside down.
Keep rotating.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
It'd be much easier to follow this.
go ahead, Mr. Dupont.
Okay. So I have the Alta Stabilized 2022, and then the city assessment right beside it as comparison. Then we have the Stabilized 2023 actually, and the city assessment right beside it. So you'll see that we use 7.5% vacancy versus the assessor 1.8 or 3.2. And then at the bottom, we use 5.5 cap rate for both years. And we agree with the assessor's expense ratio. No, we don't. We use 40%. The assessor has lower expense ratios. So on the far right, other remarks. It shows the potential rents as of August 2022, 3,000,002. Lease up June 1st. Start of lease up, then first lease November 1st. Vacancy end of 2021, 86%, and August 2022, 13. We have higher vacancy due to lease up and market as per CMHC. CMHC says that the right below it, CMHC vacancy built 2005 plus as of October 17 for the 22 assessment. The vacancy, market vacancy for the newer properties were 2.6, and October 20, the overall vacancy was 4.2. Then we have under that and grade the chart from CMHC average rent for built 2005 plus 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. October 2017, the rents were 1191 and 1392. The average 1340. October 20, 1317, 1557 for 2 bedroom. Total 1483. And October 21st, it went up just slightly to 1511 from 1483. So if you do an increase from 2017 to 2021, it's 11%. And 20 to 21, 1.9%. Then in green, we have expense ratios. So I checked a few. So for 145 Sage Creek, these are expense ratio used by the assessor. They had 41.6%, and for 2023, they have 40.8%, and the square footage was 1437. 50 bisons, the assessor had 39% and 41%. 30 University, come here today at 39 and 49% for 2023. And for subject, they have 37.96 for 2022 and 35.78 for 2023. Now I had a few of those myself, and I thought 35 was lower than some of those apartments that we've done. And based on those 4 comparables, they are much lower. And then we have one actual expense ratio, 50 bison built 2016. We settled 2020 COA. We settled at 42.6%. and the 2023 that we stabilized was 41.4, and that is average 1356 square feet. So I believe the expense ratio the assessor is using is way too low. So the rents that we use for 2022 is 2,849,488, which is the factored back rent from August 22 to 2017. So you can see from CBC that's 11%, so it should be 11% less. And the 2023 rents, don't forget I made a typo for that column. I say 2022 was actually 2023. I've used 1.9% less. So it's actual rents factored back. And I have the 7.5% vacancy and the cap rates, and these are the values. That would be my report.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Assessors, do you have any questions of Mr. Dupont's presentation?
Just regarding the rents, do you have any rent comparables of pre-reference information?
No, I have a CBT rents and subjects' own rents, which are factored back.
Okay.
Just to be clear, the subject's own rents in the context of the 2022 and also the 2023 appeal would be considered post-reference information.
I would agree with that. That's an exercise that the owner requires. What's the assessor's rents in relation to my actual rents, etc. And we know that the assessor does the same thing. They do actual rent post factor back. That's the most accurate way of doing things, except if we have formal hearings, especially at municipal board, that evidence would be denied or disallowed.
Yeah. So in that case, comparables would need to be relied upon in pre-reference data information.
Yes.
Okay.
To make life difficult for both of us, we'd have to ignore subjects' own rents.
Yeah, I agree. It is more difficult. So just in regards to the vacancy, it looked like the vacancy dropped 70% in about 8 months. Do they apply discounts? Is that why it came down so quick?
I believe that discounts all the way. It's in a rent roll. We can look at it. But from November 1st, 2021, if you count from the date of the first lease to August 28th, so that's it's 10 months. Yeah, so that's a pretty good lease up.
So they're just about fully leased up in about a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. And then just in regards to your caps, and just rotate that screen. So on page 14, this is I'm talking about 2022 here. This is.
Oh yeah, I got the cap rate study. I forgot to put in, but if I'm allowed to do that.
Sure, if you want to. But I'll just start with on the 2022 assessment. So you and I, we came to settlements for multiple years. Was there ever a discussion? I don't recall any discussion about adding premiums whenever you guys felt it was necessary. This whole premium thing seems to be new this season for 2023 in regards to its prevalence. Would you agree with that statement?
We do more premiums than before, but the settlement we had was always the base cap rates and was still subject to premiums on an individual basis.
I guess that's where we would disagree with you. I remember signing deals. I don't remember signing on premiums for, it seems that you guys are putting premiums on almost every property. So it just seems that you guys aren't adhering to the agreement, which is not even at this court. Would you agree with that?
For 2020 to 2022 at the municipal board, we have used that cap rate for virtually all properties. No premium was asked for any of them, I believe. And this time I'm asking for premium because it's a lease up. So that's very, very different.
Okay, so you basically you're deviating from the agreement, essentially.
I said no, I am not deviating. We've done hundreds of settlements at that settled cap rate, and now we have a lease up. So it is different than the settlement cap rate, which would be for normal apartments that don't have the lease up factor.
Did you ever settle any newer buildings at the municipal board, newer builds without adding a premium to it back when we were signing them after this agreement was made?
The 300 Assiniboine, we were unable to come to an agreement because I was asking for vacancy and cap rate premium. That's the only one I can think of. So we did ask for at least one of them. Oh no, we did come to a settlement afterwards. But we were asking for a premium on cap rate and vacancy.
Okay. I think it'd be fair to say that the lease up period, physical nature, unit count for 300 Assiniboine, the issue and unit count greatly exceed the situation that's happening at 15 Berwick. I wouldn't even call it a situation, but the lease up period, would you agree that they have more of an extended lease up issue?
Oh yeah, 300 Assiniboine took over 3 years to lease up. So that was a very slow lease up. So it was different that way for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And we put a vacancy on it. No argument on the vacancy standpoint there. Okay, so for 2023, because I think that's what's left in regards to cap. I haven't talked about that. Are you going to present your cap rate study?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just pause there and let you carry forward with that.
Mr. Laurando, do you have any questions?
No, I'm waiting to hear his cap rate study.
Okay, we'll hear your cap rate study then, Mr. DuPont.
Okay, so I have to find it, and I hope you have it nearby.
Yeah, it's in the folder. There's two files. The last.
What's it called?
Apartment cap rates on the bottom.
study?
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah,
rebuttal evidence?
from the applicant and the last one from the assessment.
Do I have, okay.
You got them both.
Okay. We have it.
Okay. So we can go to page 2, which is the market reports, and I believe the assessor has that as part of their normal. They have to call your CBRE, Cushman, and I showed the 2018 and the 2021. And so Collier's, like the first one, low rise is 5 to 6% for 2018, 5 to 6% for 2021. CBRE, they went up 5.25. No, went down. Sorry, to 5.75 versus 5.5 to 6. So yeah, they had a slight compression, 0.25%. Then we have the Cushman Colliers for low rise, high rise. So some of them have no, some of the categories have no change. Some are quarter. Nevertheless, virtually all of them start at 5 or 5.5. There's only one that's lower than that. That's Cushman High Rise, 4.5 is their start. And they had 4 3/4 for 2018, and we had settled 5 1/4 for that. So we were not listening to Cushman at that time, and we're not listening to Cushman this time either. But it gives you an indication what the market reports are, and then you have to take into consideration that the assessor was stabilized a certain way. We was on the individual cap rates. We would stabilize a certain way, and so you would take all the factors into consideration. Now we can go to the so 5 shows the table where we settled the cap rate for 2020, and page 6 is our cap rate comparables. Well, we have 10 comparables. We do have 2390 McPhillips, the first one. We have 5%, and that is based on the pro forma that he had divided by the sale price. So we did not have the 3 years of financial statements. I believe Matt has that in his rebuttal. And then the next two, 555 Corydon, 677 Maryland, I believe the assessor is virtual agreement with us on those 2 cap rates. Then the last 5, the last 3 that we have are comparables of newer properties, so 333 Ward, also used by the assessor for the 2021-22 assessments for the previous reference year. And we have 5.07, and Beach will have 5.39, and 100 Southview was 5.59. We have those 3 same cap rates for the 2020-22 settlement. So based on those 3 cap rates, we came to an agreement 5 1/4. So we did not rely simply on 333 Ward. 100 Southview, newer property, and it was a big pro forma that was given. The Appendix D, the second part, shows all the backup data that we have and how we arrive at those cap rates. And that's then the next page, page 7. It shows what our cap rates are. So that based on those cap rates, we've come to the conclusion of those cap rates. So 1999 plus 5 1/4, which is the same cap rate that we had for the 2020 to 2022 settlements. And that's my submission on that.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Assessors, do you have any questions?
Yes. Well, we have a rebuttal.
Okay. Would you like to ask questions first, though?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So go to the page 3, please, of the Altus cap rate report. So the first chart here, is that in regards to Winnipeg, or is that in regards to Canada as a whole?
This is for the national cap rates.
Okay. So would you agree that what we're looking at here, we're looking at the red line, suburban multi-unit residential? That's the line we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks to me like that line has been declining leading into Q1 2021. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, there appears to be a slight compression. Yeah.
Yeah, and it ends off roughly when we do put the paper up to the screen test. It looks at coming up to about 4.5%. Would that be where your estimation falls?
No, 4.5 would be on the left of where the gray line starts, and the red line is not that low, so it appears 5.
Okay,
It appears to be 5%.
yeah, okay. The paper test, it looks like they're similar, but it's kind of hard to tell. If you could draw a line, that'd be great. Anyway, we'll move on. I think most of this is actually going to come in the form of rebuttal. So I think we'll just move to that part now, if we could.
No, we'll see if the panel has questions first,
Okay.
and then we'll get to your rebuttal. Mr. Larondo?
No questions at this time.
Okay. Ms. Duncan?
No questions.
Okay, so now we're at your rebuttal anyway. Let me just get there.
I send you an email, Mr. Dupont.
What's that?
I send you an email for their rebuttals.
Oh, okay. I'm going to look at it for now.
Their rebuttal is on the bottom, right?
At the very bottom, yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Go ahead, Mr. Assessor.
Okay, so basically, I'll try and make this as focused as possible, so it doesn't take a while. I'm sure you've heard some of this before. So on the second page, basically what this is what the city of Winnipeg did is we have the mailers, so we're able to stabilize the properties that were in the Altus cap rate study, and then see where there are some similarities, mostly similarities, some differences. So for this property, 2390 McPhillips and 333 Ward would be the most similar in regards to physical characteristics, year built. It's not a townhouse. It's not a smaller, newer build. It's they're larger, newer builds in suburban type areas. So 2390 McPhillips, I included, starts on page 3. On page 4 is the Altus workup. So what we're seeing here is the city of Winnipeg actually has the mailers that they were submitting to us in the 3 years leading up to the reference date. Altus, I guess, didn't have those mailers, and they worked off of a pro forma. So you can see that stabilizing the method we typically do 5% management, most recent utilities, average repair and maintenance, with the known sale price of $19,400,000, it comes up to a 4.79 cap rate. So when you go to page 4, Altus has a 5% cap rate on their report. And you see their pro forma, they didn't really have any data to work off of. The pro forma just said 5%, basically the realtors had. So it's not something that can be relied upon. Just go back and look at these 2 workups and ask yourself which is the most applicable. Also, it's important to note that the city of Winnipeg for the 2023 cycle bumped the reference. We bumped reassessment a year to take into account the COVID-19 pandemic and the financial implications of COVID-19 pandemic. So this sale here in October of 2020 takes place within the COVID-19 pandemic. The other newer properties, Ward, Beach, which is smaller, Southview, which is a townhouse, they all take place before that. So weight should be placed on this. It's the most recent sale leading up to the reference date inside, those financial conditions at the time. I've included the mailers on pages 5 to page 10, so the numbers can be referenced. Altus has these mailers now. So 55 Cordon, 555 Cordon, we actually agree, no problem there. Just a slight difference in laundry, nothing, no disagreement. 677 Maryland, there's a difference in repair and maintenance stabilization. That's on page 13. Altus is at 566, we're at 5.5. Basically, the property, Altus's remarks, building was renovated in 2013. When buildings are renovated or they're brand new, they typically get a bit of a dip in the repair and maintenance after a while because things are new. But then you can notice from 1819 it goes back up. On a per unit basis, for a building that was originally built in 1913, I averaged the last 2 years to come up to about 1,000 unit, which I think is pretty reasonable. Altus was a bit lower, but I think it's a better technique to use 1819 as opposed to including the 2 lower years. And their workup follows as well on page 14. So 210 St. Mary's. Basically, this property, there's another difference in repair and maintenance stabilization. Altus stabilized at 388 a unit. We stabilized at 745 a unit. 745 is much more. It's something you see on the subject property side occasionally, even though it is still pretty low. You'll never see 388 on the long-term. Purchaser isn't going to assume that they're going to get away with that, and a vendor isn't going to assume that either. So they're not going to, cut down the sale price. So here we go. Then we got Altus's 210 St. Mary's Road on page 16. You can see it's in 1952. 388 just doesn't make sense. 510 Balmoral, it's unusable. Basically, when you look at line 32 on page 18, this is the sales mailer. The vendor indicated, the purchaser indicated that the capitalization rate was not based, the purchase price was not based on the property's net operating income. Therefore, there's a disconnect between the net operating income and the sale price. So even if you calculate a cap rate based on a stabilized net operating income, the vendor, the purchaser is saying there's a disconnect there. They based it on something else. So we're not using, we're saying this property is unusable. There's a difference in repair and maintenance, but it's not really applicable to this docket, that property so much. So I'm going to move past it. 215 Laver and Dry on page 21. So there's another difference. There's a difference in caretaking in terms of actuals versus estimation. And there's also a difference in repair and maintenance. We took the average, or rather, oh, sorry. You know what? What did I use here? Looks like I typed in the wrong one. I'll have to recalculate this one. Looks like I typed in 10,968 into stabilized, so I'd have to revisit that. So we'll just move on past this one. Don't put anyone on that one. Page 23, 277 Langside. Again, another one of these ones where on line 32 on page 24, the purchase price was not based on the net operating income, based on disclosure by the purchaser. There's a disconnect there. No sense in calculating a cap based on a stabilized NOI if it wasn't used during the sale to come up with the sale price. 333 Ward, 27, page 27, it's undisputed. I'm sure all of you have heard this one more than enough sitting on the panel. We agree 5.07. So again, that property transacted in 2016, so much different market conditions than that. I mean, the real estate markets, interest rates have dropped since that period, especially leading into the reference date from the COVID-19 pandemic. Just look at that chart with the red line in regards to the question I asked from the overall Canadian cap rate trend for reference, please. So Altus's workup is on page 28. No disagreement there with the stabilization. So Beach is another newer property. It was built in 2014. So they didn't really have much like working data to report. Like I mentioned, in regards to other properties that have had renovations, typically when a building is either renovated or new, there is a period where there's lower repairs and maintenance because everything is brand new. However, purchased as a long-term investment, a prudent purchaser is going to know that over the long term, they're not going to be able to get away with, 500 a unit R&M. You're not going to see that on the subject property side. So what we did is we just estimated at 1,000. Also did some research looking beyond the sale, see what they're actually reporting on page 30, after 2 years, 17, 18, where one was really low and one was really high, kind of stabilized around 1,000. 1080 actually, but we use 1,000 because we're not using that data. We're just saying estimate at 1,000. Altus used 500 per unit on that one. And then not for nothing, not that we're relying on it, but on page 32, on line 32, the purchaser said they purchased the property at 4.5. This is a 6-unit in Elmwood. It's not the same as Berwick or University that we're going to talk about later. It's a different market. So we didn't go to 4.5. We're not putting as much weight on this cap rate workup that we've come up with. But it's just, it was in their cap rate study, so I reviewed it. And then the last one here in the Altus cap rate study is 100 Southview. We're saying it's unusable. There weren't any, you can see in their workup here, I put their workup on page 34. They didn't have actual numbers because it sold so quick after occupancy in spring 2015. So there's no figures to work off of. And we've seen how realtor pro formas, they don't mean anything really because it's not based on actuals and they can be skewed and wrong. Note how the realtor pro forma and the expenses to effective gross income comes in at about 21.7%. That's not realistic. That's way too low. This building is a townhouse. This property is a townhouse type setup where it's basically a series of single detached houses stuck together, multiple roofs, multiple HVAC. There's more that needs to be attended to, and it's not running at a 20 to 25% expense ratio on the long term. It's unheard of. So we're just saying it's unusable. Didn't bother trying to come up with anything for that. So just rounding it out, we're saying that McPhillips is the most applicable. And it's coming at 4.8. It's coming in lower than Ward. And it's in line with the national cap rate trend declining and in line with the model cap rate for 15 Berwick. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dupont, do you have any questions of the assessor's rebuttal evidence?
Yes. So you rely on the questionnaires, the sales questionnaires, where the purchaser says they did not rely on the income stream. And do you know what they relied on then?
No, we do not.
So is it possible, likely, that they did have the income stream given to them and that they had to rely upon it, but they could have also considered the price per door or some other factor?
I think if they relied upon the income stream, they would have checked off yes.
Could it also mean that they're relying on the potential that they could increase the income stream? They would tend to renovate or do other things.
Like adjust the income stream in a way?
They would adjust the income stream. So therefore, it could be confusing. They may not say we use the exact income stream, but we adjusted it.
I mean, yeah, we're kind of getting into speculation now. They checked off no. That's kind of like where the data ends.
Well, you're speculating. You're just saying throw the sale out for a small little thing on the questionnaire. Same thing with the cap rate when they say 5.5 or 4.5. Do you ever use those cap rates from the questionnaires, or do you do your own?
No, we do our own, and so I don't put primary weight on it. I think that's an interesting look into how purchasers are viewing the market. But when someone says the purchaser, we didn't base this sale price off of a cap rate calculated using the actual net operating income, then there's a disconnect there. Like it's like a wall almost, you know? They're just not connected. So unless we called them and said, oh, we just bumped the, expenses up from 500 a unit to 1,000 per unit. And that's why we declared a 4.5 cap for beach. Maybe they did that. Who knows?
This thing disconnect when they say they don't rely on income reports. It's your total interpretation, your speculation that there's a total disconnect, that the purchaser did not rely on the income stream. Is that a bit far-fetched on your point?
It's not speculation. That's what they said.
They did not say they had a disconnect and they disregarded the income?
I'm just going to read line 32 here. It says, was the purchase price based on the property's net operating income? No. If yes, what is the capitalization rate which you assumed you purchased the property? And they didn't include one. So maybe they're not even, it doesn't look like they're basing it on the income at all. So that's what they said, and that's where the data kind of stops with that line. So as far as we know, as far as the panel knows, there's a disconnect. And they're older properties. They're not really so applicable to the properties today, but we can agree to disagree.
No, it's just that you have a whole bunch of reasons why you say cap rate is unusable, which I disagree strongly from your particular interpretation. Now, page 3 is the workup on McPhillips.
Mm-hmm.
Now, description at the bottom, your notes: ensuite washer and dryer, 5 appliances, and ensuite pantry storage. Is there some negative feature in this particular property, or is that a quite good property?
I think it's pretty good. It depends on where you want to live. This is closer out towards the perimeter highway, which is not a bad area. I'm actually from around there. I like living there, but maybe some people want to live in Osborne, in a new place in Osborne Village or in the south, so it's almost locationally subjective, but I think it's a good area to live in.
Yeah, so it says it's near a Walmart, so it's within walking distance to a Walmart. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So this property was built in 2015, and by 2019, the rents that you show there's $1,445,000. I calculated that to be $1,388, I believe. Would you agree with that?
$1,388.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that from? Are you getting that from the mailer?
No, from your civilization. 90 units, so the potential rent $1,445,000. 1,445,870 divided by 90 divided by 12. 1,338.
So
should we agree with that?
I'm a little bit confused here because on page 5. You can see they're saying their total revenue is 1,464,667. I've stabilized at 1,476,295, and you're saying it's 13 something.
Yeah. So the rent that you stabilized at is 1,338.
Are you talking on a per unit basis?
Per suite, yes.
Yeah, I'm not looking at a per unit basis. I'm more focused on the effective gross income on this.
I am. I'm asking you the question. So would you agree that it has 1,338 is the average rent?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And the subject property, you have it around 1,700 rent.
Okay. Yeah.
So So would you agree that a potential purchaser could be buying it with a low cap rate because they think the rent is low and they could probably raise it a few $100, and maybe that's the reason it has a lower cap rate because it has a lot more potential?
Well, I think different markets have different rent levels. That's seen in the CMHC table. So we're looking at new buildings. The best data we have for new buildings inside the COVID-19 pandemic is 2390 McPhillips, and it's coming out to about 4.8. So I don't know what you're saying in regards to, yeah, they have different rents. Sure they do. But it also is rented up fairly quickly.
Yeah, but the actual rent that they have for the sale is $13.38, which is really low for a new apartment block. So is it possible the cap rate is low because the rents are low?
Is it possible that the cap rate is low because the rents are low? I don't know. I don't know if the rents are low. Do you have a CMHC study that's saying the rents are low?
They're lower than what you apply for the subject at 1,600 and 1,700. You apply 1,712 for a subject property, and this one it comes at 1,338. So there's a big difference in rent, almost $400 different in rent.
Yeah,
new property.
Osborne Village and North McPhillips by the perimeter are different, so it could be easily said that Osborne Village South Osborne is a more attractive place to rent a unit. There's different rents in different parts of the city, but for newer builds, this is what we're seeing for cap.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Larondo, do you have questions on the assessor's rebuttal?
No, I think they've done a wonderful job.
Okay.
Bullseye.
Ms. Duncan, questions on the assessor's rebuttal?
No questions.
Okay. Now I think, Mr. Larondo, do you have questions on Mr. Dupont's presentation?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Duncan, do you have questions?
No questions.
No questions. Okay. Is there a desire for summation? Mr. Assessor first.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but we've got one newer sale within the COVID-19 pandemic. It's at 4.8, Altus stabilized at 5 based on basically nothing. Ward was at 5% in 2016. Their own chart shows cap rates have been declining. I just compare the stabilizations when making your cap rate decisions for the properties on this docket. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dupont, summation?
Yes, our cap rates, we settled, Matt and I, for 2020 was 5.25 for this age group. We come to the same conclusion for this appeal. So we part of that is we're relying on past, and this subject property is for both reference here. No, the assessor's comparable 2390 McPhillips. They have only one and it has low rents, about $400 lower rent. And the purchaser could be buying this because it has a lot of potential to increase the rents. Not many new properties would have such low rent. So I don't think their particular cap rate is that good as a comparison. Now, the reference date is April 1st, 2018 and April 1st, 2021. And both those dates, the building has not been leased up. So somebody that buys a property that is not leased up is taking on further risk. And you're saying the purchaser will not sell, etc. It doesn't matter. So we have to figure out what would be the value if it did sell on those particular dates. And those particular dates, these properties would be during a lease up, or they started leasing up actually first lease November 1st, 2021, after the both reference years. But it is physically a property with the lease up stage, and we have to have some kind of adjustment to the value for the lease up. Now, I believe in my submission, I think I did. I have, no, I think so. There's precedent at the municipal board where they had said that there should be a premium that was for 2 hotels that are being built, and they said they should have a premium on the cap rate to for the fact it was a startup and the property had not yet been established. So this is the same thing. So somebody is buying at those reference dates, they would have a vacancy problem. They would have a risk because they don't know what rents will be, what kind of discounts going to have. It's a risky period. You have to allow somehow for the lease up. And we have a vacancy allowance 7.5%, and we add 0.25% to the cap rate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I propose we take a 10-minute recess before we proceed with item number 6. So we'll just
Agreed.
recess for 10 minutes, please. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We're now dealing with item number 6 on our agenda, 30 University Crescent. Mr. Assessor, when you're ready, you may begin your presentation, please.
Okay, so this is file number 22-3451, roll number 0309 300 5815. Roll year 2023, assessed value 21,522,000. And we have one building that's 7 stories built in 2021. So another new build, and 108 suites, 35 indoor, 69 outdoor. Page 2 will take you just to a map of showing you roughly where the location is of the subject. So it's located on the southeast corner, just off of Pembina Highway by Bishop Grandin, within walking distance to the University of Manitoba. Now, taking you to page 3 and our income summary, you can see that we are coming in at an average monthly rent per unit at $15.1091, and then following our net operating income here being at $946,953, and using a 4.40 capitalization rate to get our market value. Now, rent comparables here on page 4, you could see where the subject would fall in line with other properties in the area. And so you could see subjects at $15.1091, and the range there goes from $14.96 to $15.37. So we feel reasonably confident the range that this property is falling in. Page 5, our capitalization rates, we already touched on that. Page 6, again, capitalization rates. This is a new build. So again, like previous, we were focusing on the 2390 McPhillips. And then just going on to page 8, just showing you the permit. I had brought forward just some information. The subject's permit value is $17,500,000. Other sales that have happened relative for their permit value relative to sale price. So you can see where they generally sell for based on the permits. So this permit value would be $17,500,000. The assessment's coming in at $21,522,000. So that's about an 80% ratio, which would mean that we probably could be a little bit low on this valuation relative to that. And then just going forward, including lists of amenities here. It's going to attract mostly students from the university, so vacancy really shouldn't be as much of an issue. There should be high demand. It's a premium location. I mean, this is post-reference info, but their vacancy at the end of 2021 was 2.
No, excuse me, please don't present post-reference information. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. Other than that, you could just see again, I listed the amenities here. Modern interior, exterior finishes, again, high-end finishes throughout. You could see it's got an interactive amenity lounge. You could see a picture of what one of the kitchens look like. So it's pretty good quality student housing as well. So other than that, I think that's everything that I would have today.
Thank you very much. Mr. DuPont, do you have any questions?
You're mute.
You're muted, Mr. DuPont.
I don't hear you. Your mic's still off, Henry.
I'm okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, I didn't. Okay, it doesn't matter. So when you say students, would you agree that renting to students would have a higher turnover than normal apartment blocks and potentially higher vacancy?
It could have a higher turnover. I don't know about vacancy though, as there's typically high demand for these type of properties.
So if you have a higher turnover, you would end up with higher repair maintenance.
It could lead to that, correct? I will point out our expense ratio on this new build is 49.52%, which is, I would say, on the high end already. So that is taken into account.
So you're saying the expense ratio takes into account the fact that it's for students?
Well, it takes into account that it does contain a lot of common areas and that it would be factored in that, this area is mainly going to be student housing. So after 3 or 4 years, people might be moving out. They could be moving out after a year or two. So, yeah.
And the questionnaires, do you show any of the questionnaires that they had?
No, because I was going to bring up, but it's post-reference information, so they didn't want that presented. So they do have a 2021 mailer, though.
Can you say physically that it has wall air conditioning instead of air conditioning as central?
I couldn't answer that.
And why is the cap rate so low, 4.4%?
Well, the cap rate could be low as it's a premium location. Like I said, with high demand close to the university. And I mean, it's a good quality build. So that would be my guess on why the cap rate could be lower. But it's model driven. So, I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly why, like all the factors that the model used to come up with that.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont. Mr. Laurando, do you have any questions?
On this new concept that seems to be out here now that's happening on Pembina Highway for the university to have student housing, did you bring any other comparables for the other student housings?
For new builds or for rents or
New build.
I don't have any on hand, no.
Was there one built at the corner of Bison Drive and Pembina?
Yeah, I don't know if that was a sale or not that I could use. Like, are you talking about using a sale?
As comparable, really.
For rent.
For rent. I'll ask the questions, Henry.
I mean, 2815,
Yeah.
like 2815 Pembina Highway would be relatively close to the university, and it's 1510. I don't know if it's specifically student housing, but they're almost mirror image buildings.
I can't picture where that one is on the map. Is that 2815 you said?
Yeah.
Might be close, but I don't know if that's it.
Okay.
I'd have to look that up. Okay, I'll wait for Henry's presentation. Maybe he'll have the answers to that one.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. DuPont, you can proceed with your presentation, please.
Okay, so I have to find it now. Okay, got it. So the first page shows the photo, the assessment, and what we're requesting. You can jump forward to the map. So it shows it's right at the busy corner of Bishop Grandin and University Crescent. So it'd be a noisy corner. So and not very nice views for your balcony. Yeah, we have the maps. So there are also the Google map showing where it is. The University map at the bottom of that map on page 8. Our cap rate, the income approach starts at page 12. So, so the cap rates we have from our cap rate study is 5.25% for 1999 plus. Then we have the comments, site-specific practice for this building. So, building amenities, it has ensuite washer and dryer and modern finishes like most new apartment blocks. Air conditioning says wall and not central, and I'll find that in the appendix. Stage is lease-up stage. First rent roll was May 1st, 2021, with 15% vacancy. So I guess it's relatively good lease-up. Suite mix is 4% bachelor, 64% one bedroom, 32% two bedroom. Parking's inferior is only 97%. Newer apartments tend to have close to 150%. And this one's a bit on the low side. And the location is heavy traffic at busy intersection, Bishop Grandin and Pembina. It's near U of M, geared to university students. That's really high turnover. Tony Bison, which was my client, were saying that in September, the turnover could be as high as 70% in the 1 month. So it could get really high. Whatever students stay there, they may not come back to the same place. They go away in the summer, and then they're free to choose a new place when you come back. So our cap rate 5.5, including 25% for lease up stage, location, wall AC, parking, suite mix. The next page is the income approach. So I have to rotate. The rents we use is lower than the assessor. We use the May 2021 rent roll, which would be in fact like the April 1st, 2021 And the potential listed there is 1,829,772. And we show the rent including parking because the assessor has no extra parking income. So then we apply a 5% vacancy to that. And then the expenses, we use this city's expense ratio. But instead of 4.4 cap rate, we use 5.5% cap rate. So our value is 16 million. So we can go to the appendix now. So page 19, and that's the rent roll. In red is what I have added, the vacant. So I've added the value on vacant based on other similar suites. So they have second column, they have the type of property it is, R03 ULA, and property above is 1268. So that's what we allowed. So same thing in the next vacant 109 we have added, and the suite 203, that's code is R0030U2A. We find another 2A and a 1682, and that's what we added. So we do the same thing for all the vacant suites, find out what similar suites are renting for the similar type. Then we get to the totals, which would be page 26. So the vacant, 155,000. Vacancy, 14.7%. The total rent that they show on the next page, 132,633. The next page is the questionnaire, and that's the page 28. So that's the owner's questionnaire, and then other air conditioning. They have two choices: central AC or wall AC, and they checked the wall AC. So they save some money by not having central air. Then there's showing the amenities, etc. So it's very similar to most newer builds. That would be my report.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Mikulak, do you have any questions of the presentation?
Yeah. So just a question here. Have you inspected this property?
No.
On like just regarding the issue of wall AC, when you go to page 1 and there's the picture of the exterior property, can you see if there would be any wall? Like, does it appear to you that there's wall air conditioning on the property that would be prevalent on the exterior here?
Let me check. That would be in the balconies. I don't know. The photo is not clear enough.
Okay. Would you agree that it's highly unlikely, though, that a new build would have individual window unit ACs installed?
Yeah, I found that unusual.
Okay. Okay, no, fair. I just, like, I do know they checked it off. It's just, I'm not sure if wall AC could be open to interpretation where, oh, they think the person adjusts it on the wall, like a thermostat or something. So just from the picture, it didn't appear that they had it. And just regarding the inspection, maybe that would clarify it. And then just here, so if we scroll down to page 14, just your income workup. So you have the vacancy at 5% and we're at 4.2%. So would you agree that maybe the vacancy issue wouldn't really be that much of a problem in terms of the cap, like for the cap rate premium? Because you're using 5%, we're at 4.2. I mean, that's a 0.8% difference.
Yeah, we're close. So perhaps you would agree to come to my 5%. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just pointing out that you want 0.25% for the lease up, but in reality, you're using the 5% vacancy here, and we're at 4.2. So I don't really see where that would be necessarily need to be added as a premium. And then regarding location, so would you agree that, say, a buyer looking to purchase this property, seeing that it's close to the university and high demand, that the location would be inferior or superior to 2390 McPhillips?
It would be inferior because it is a very busy corner and it's geared to students, which means higher turnover and a lot more problems with repair and maintenance and etc. So student housing makes it inferior to me.
And then regarding the issue of parking, would you agree that because it is student housing and it's within walking distance to the university, that parking on a property like this wouldn't be as much of an issue by not having full parking stalls for every single unit?
Yeah, compared to new apartment blocks, which may be 150%, this is lower in relation to others, but it would suit the student type tenant.
And did you have any rent comparables at all for this property?
No, I used the actual rent roll.
Okay, that's
okay.
No, sorry. That was just one of my only questions regarding that. But other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mihua. Mr. Larondo, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I guess we could fall back again on your line of questioning you're both doing to each other on the forced air heating system and cooling system that's installed in these buildings as per the amenities that you both supplied. On the amenities for the apartments. Have you read it, Henry?
Oh. Yeah, you want to show me what you're referring to, or you have a question?
Apartment amenities. It actually states that it's forced air, heating and cooling, and thermostat, all LED lighting.
Forced air heating.
Talk about a wall unit. There is a wall unit on each unit, but it ties into each central unit for each apartment.
I'm not sure what you're saying. You're saying there is a wall unit, but it's tied to central air?
That's correct. Within each apartment individually, and heating.
Okay.
It says forced air, heating and cooling. Anyway, I'll leave it at that on that one. And you're saying that student housing is inferior. In which way is this building inferior to other building? You didn't give me any definition of that.
Oh, because the turnover is really high. So, and some landlords have told me before also that a lot of them are from outside town, maybe from outside the country. They come from China, go to university, and then they leave without paying their rent. It's hard to collect, so they have a collection problem. They have a turnover problem. You can have a party problem. So that if you want to build a student housing, sure, you may have the students nearby, but it comes with different sets of problems. So the McPhillips property would be superior and be more of a normal property without the student, without being geared to student.
So you think the investors made a mistake investing in student housing then?
No, I know.
Well, you just said it's inferior. Would you invest in inferior housing if you couldn't make a profit?
No, it's just riskier. So there's builders that will take some riskier properties, and some will build luxury, really high rents. Some will be going middle of the road. Some will go students. And if you go students, when you build something, you have to know you're going to have a high turnover. I was told that some builders near university charge an extra $100 rent for students not to sign any leases, because the leases are there for 1 year, and the students don't want to pay that because you only want to rent for 10 months. So it's a different market. It's high turnover, and a lot of students may move out at the end of the leases. I was very surprised to hear 30 Bison, the turnover in September was 70%. So, because that's a student housing, so that to me is not very attractive as an investor or buyer. It's higher risk and therefore should be captured in the cap rate.
No further questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
Just one, 2815 Pembina Highway. No one really knows the tenant composition there as far as whether it's students or not, but it is in the university area. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I quickly looking at the map, and it's close enough to the university area. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's not my comparable though. It's, the assessor should answer that.
Right. Sorry.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
I just have something for clarification, Mr. Dupont. On your workup on page, your income workup, you come to a value of 16,276 rounded. On page 1 of your presentation, you're showing a different number. So I just want to clarify that the page 8 workup is what we should be looking at. Your requested assessment on your cover page 1.
Oh, yeah, 18. That's a big difference. Yeah, I would go with my workup on page 14. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that was in error. Okay. Okay, I think that concludes item number 6, unless, is there a desire for summation, Mr. Assessor?
Yeah, I just have summation regarding the use of post-reference information where he had said there was 70% turnover in September. Then I'll say at the end of 2021, their vacancy shows 2.4%. So that's all I would have for summation.
Thank you. Mr. Dupont?
And this one, the assessor has a really low cap rate, 4.4. So that for sure we have to adjust. And the rent that the assessor has is higher than the rent roll as of May 1st, 2021. And that would be also the same rent in April. So we have to adjust for the rents. And the cap rate for sure. And the vacancy were relatively close, 5% versus 4.2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes item 6 on our agenda. We'll now move to item 7 on our agenda, 1061 Taylor Avenue. Let's just give everyone a minute to pull up those files.
Okay, 1061 Taylor.
Just give me a quick.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
Yeah,
That's
thanks. Okay, go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, so we have file number 22-3811, roll number 120-116-35200. We are coming in with a recommendation on this property to reduce the value to 14,330,000. You could see using the parameters listed. Would this be accepted?
I accept.
Slower than what he has asked for.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, maybe I need to do a recalculation of my numbers.
I was too quick, eh?
I had looked at. I mean, this is what I felt that I came to by looking at it. So I mean, we'll just have to just go with that, and then that's that, right? So.
Okay, can you? Okay, you said using stabilized NOI. So
Got it written there.
yeah, okay. So that's what you use to reduce your NOI.
Yeah. Well, that's what I use to reduce the assessment. Is those parameters? Yeah.
Okay. And can you give me just a little bit more detail on why you did that?
Just when I had looked up their income and expense information, you could see on page 8, I did a workup there and compared it to where our model was at, where our model was coming in too high on the income.
Okay.
And so, yeah, just when I did my recalculation of the expenses, I mean, there's obviously some variability between how they stabilize and how I stabilize. I was taking more of just the reported actuals and just kind of putting it to work there to get out to that number.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. That concludes item number 7. Item 8. Now proceed to item 8. Now, item 8 and item 9 appear to be sister properties.
Yeah.
Is there, I guess I'm asking the preference for process on hearing these. Should we hear them together first by the assessor, 363 and 367? Shall we do one at a time? What is the best approach?
Yeah, so like I'm gonna present and I'm just gonna make a request that I know isn't on here, but just like a request on how we should approach the value of the property, so we can kind of do it both at once because the questions in that would really carry over.
Okay, Mr. Dupont, does that make sense to you as well?
Yeah, you can do both, and then I'll do mine. Mine is combined.
Okay.
Statements are combined anyways.
Okay, so Mr. Mikulik, then, if you can proceed and introduce, I guess, both item 8 and item 9 together, and then you can talk about, I think that's the best way to do it then.
Okay, so we'll go file number 22-1539, which is roll number 12001381000, and file number 221541, which is roll number 12001380100. So going back to 363 Claire, which was the first property I had spoken of, the roll year 2023 assessed value 626,000. So it's located on the corner of Clare and Osborne, right near Jubilee. As you could see, just bordering off to the northwest, there's the corner of Jubilee and Osborne. And you could see the picture here where there's the two sister buildings and then the one parking garage, which has 6 parking stalls inside and 1 outside for 363 Claire. Now getting to the net operating income on page 3. So for this property, I would request that both properties have a net operating income of 33,420 applied to them. And this is just on the basis of 367 Claire. That is its net operating income as well. So it would just make sense for us from our department to have the same applied to this one. So it would drop 363 Claire down to 592,000 off the bat if we did that.
That's a recommendation that you're making?
Well, yeah, so we would say the rec, at least for this property, would be 592,000 using 33,420 NOI and 5.65% cap rate.
Okay, well, I guess I should ask Mr. DuPont if he accepts that recommendation first.
Well, let me see here. I'll accept his NOI and it'll be the only difference will be the cap rate.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Mikulik, perhaps you can then limit your discussion to cap rate.
Okay. So just in regards to cap rate, this subject's located in a highly desirable area that's close to access to bus routes, retail, etc. It's obviously it's an older building. It's somewhat close to rapid transit, although I don't think it's truly walking distance. But where 15 Berwick was previously, we're kind of in that same neighborhood. Obviously not the identical property, but it's South Osborne. So you could probably have an idea in your mind where South Osborne would be. And vacancy on this property itself, not really any to report of because there are only 8 units, which would mean that the demand is definitely there to keep these units occupied. Other than that, for a 5.65% cap rate, it's certainly on the higher end of where our model range is, with our model being the 20th to 80th percentile of 4.80 to 5.60% over on page 5. We're at 5.65, so we're just at or just past the 80th percentile on the higher end. So we really don't feel like there's further need to really go further on this one. So we feel pretty good about where the value's at. And that's all for my presentation.
Thank you very much. Mr. DuPont, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Larondo?
No questions. I thought he was doing both properties.
Oh, yes, he was.
So can I just say that the exact presentation that I just had would carry over to 367 as it's an identical cap rate as well at 5.65, and we're using the same net operating income. So just my points about cap rate be applied to 367 as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Larondo, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now the net operating income is 33,420 for both of them. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're using the 5.65.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need from you, and then we'll see what we do on.
Okay. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. DuPont, go ahead, please.
363 Claire, I guess. The appendix, page 18, the city's details, building details, is a D wood frame, 1954. So this shows that this is part of the subject features. So the first page is the photo. You can see it's a no little building painted purple now. An old garage. The maps would be next. So the first aerial map shows that it's the building is 263 and it has the garage and they have no parking lot. And then we have the Google map after that. So it's South Osborne. So just before you get to Red River and Churchill. So it's an older area, but it's still a fairly good area. Then believe it can go to a spreadsheet. Oh, we're not spreadsheet, cap rate. So cap rate page 11. So built in 1954. So the cap rate that we have for that age group, 46 to 59, is 5 3/4. And it's the same amount that we settled the 2020 cap rates for that age group. Then the comments for the subject itself, it's with frame, so it's a negative. Has no amenities. Age is 67 years old. Suite mix is poor, 50% bachelors, 50% one bedroom. Parking, it does show 13% outdoor and 38% garage. So from that, we bumped the cap rate by 0.25% to 6%. And then the spreadsheet comes next. So we have stabilized at 32,033 by line 33. And we accept the assessor's recommendation, 33,420. So the only difference now is the cap rate. Parking, I show 1 outdoor parking and 3 in the garage. So the garage is 6. So I believe there's 2 parking extra between the 2 lots, outdoor and 6 garage. So the suite mix shown on top there, 4 bachelors, 4 one bedrooms. So it's a 4 suite mix. The questionnaire, page 20, the description questionnaire, rotate view. Says parking indoor 6, which is the garage, and outdoor 1. And the 367 Osborne, basically the same, except you'll see the page 6, the aerial photo. That's the one right on Osborne at the corner. And it's combined properties anyway, so they it just shows the location. So that'd be my submission.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Mr. Mikulak, do you have any questions?
Yeah, on page 14 of the repair and maintenance workup, just on the years 2016 and 2017, the repair and maintenance are quite high. Are you aware if they did, so would you think that they did renovations?
2016, 20,
Yeah, so
17?
yeah, like 2016 and 17, the repair and maintenance was pretty high compared to the way 2018, 19, and 2020 have fallen. And so would you say in 2016 and 17 that they did renovations to the property based on those numbers?
No, 2016 shows in red on top. The replaced windows and doors for 66,000.
Okay.
And then 2017, the painting was 12,000 versus other years 3,800. Painting 800 a year is really low, but they did a lot of painting in 2017. Also, the plumbing was high in 2017 at 13,000, and building exterior was 1,789, and the grounds 7,600. So that all these items in red would have been excluded from our averages when we did the repair maintenance.
Right. I was just wondering if, these would signal that there had been some capital improvements put into the property to bring it up to a more newer state.
No, we can see the flooring and appliances are low. The flooring replacement is 167 per suite versus a max of 500, and appliances 40, which is low versus a max of 225. So those two items are usually done for the turnover. They have virtually nothing for counters, cupboards, and carpentry. So that's not renovated there. So the suites were not renovated per se. So it's more windows and doors, exterior, and plumbing and grounds. So that's not, what would you call renovations.
But it would be a solid in terms of a structural thing for a buyer would say, hey, they got new windows already. They have new plumbing installed in certain spots. So I'm just thinking because of the age of the building that maybe some of these things have been taken care of now for the foreseeable future in that light. Now, so and then just going on to just with the cap rate of 6%. So are you aware of any vacancy issues with this place or any of the buildings?
The Sussex statements include vacancies, so we don't know what they are. You just show the rents that we have received.
Okay.
I don't believe there was a vacancy problem, but we don't know the exact numbers.
Okay. It says here, now I just in this report, and I'm assuming this is an error on page 11, accepting the assessor's capitalization rate of 6.25%. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Good try though.
it's a format, and we have to change it.
Okay.
When,
No. Okay, no, I just want
property. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Where we're at here. Okay, and then other than that, so just this Altus 2023 good location 1940. So you have it at 5.75%. So you applied a 0.25% to cap based on you think this is a not a very good location in South Osborne?
No, the page 11 shows the reasons why we give a 0.25%. So it's because it's wood frame, no amenities, 4 suite mix, 50% bachelors, 4 parking, 13% outdoor, and 38% garage. So it's about half of the parking. So because of those factors, I gave it a 0.25%. Nothing to do with location.
Okay, so in your experience, does parking in these type of small units in a downtown area like this, like is that really a risk factor that a buyer would assign when purchasing a property? They would give it extra cap for that?
Parking is something that lives with the property, is something you cannot improve. So that is a negative point that would follow the property. Same as the suite mix. So you buy this building, you may have a harder time to rent because it's bachelors and only 50% parking. You can't fix it up too much because you can't get the high rents because you don't have the suite mix and the parking. So it's a negative feature that follows the property.
Okay, those are all my questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Larondo, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay. Ms. Duncan, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, and I have no questions. So that concludes item number 8 and 9 on our agenda. Oh, sorry. Is there a desire for summation, Mr. Assessor?
Just the summation regarding our cap rate. We're already at 5.65%, which is at the tail end of our 80th percentile. And then I think, we don't really see here where in South Osborne there needs to be a further adjustment. We feel like we've reflected the risk quite appropriately here.
Thank you, Mr. McCulloch. Mr. DuPont, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so we're close on the cap rate before adjusting for. I thought somebody was saying something.
Yeah.
No, so we're close to the cap rate, 5.65 versus 5.75, the basic cap rate. But they do have negative features, the poor suite mix and the poor parking, and we should be allowing for that, so that would provide good justification to raise the cap rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont. Okay, now that concludes item 8 and 9 on our agenda. So we have heard all the items scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned.